Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, found himself in a strange predicament in Las Vegas. It wasn't the glitz and glamour of the strip or the thrill of performing that had him stumped. It was something deeper, something that made the king feel trapped. Every show he performed, packed with stunning showgirls, seemed to echo the emptiness he felt inside. In the early 1960s, meeting these showgirls was part of the gig. They would mingle with guests, ensuring no one left the venue craving more entertainment. Joe Esposito, a close friend from Elvis's Army days, would often join him. Esposito recalled how they'd spot a dancer in a poodle costume and make a move. "See those girls?" Esposito would say to the maitre d', "Ask them to join us for a drink after the show." One particular dancer caught Elvis's eye, wearing that silly poodle costume in Dean Martin's show. After the show, Elvis made it a point to talk to her, and eventually they married, but this wasn't your typical romance. Elvis was known for keeping things casual, dating showgirls, having girlfriends visit him, and even dating stars. In 1964, he was seen often with singer Phyllis McGuire, despite warnings that she was connected to the mob. Elvis wasn't afraid to take risks, even if it meant stepping on toes. But Las Vegas couldn't mask Elvis's growing unease. His career was stalling. Movies were getting worse, and the pressure was mounting. Colonel Parker, Elvis's manager, kept pushing for more movies and albums, but the hits were becoming scarce. Elvis was stuck in a routine, shuttling between his home in Memphis and his residences in Beverly Hills and Palm Springs. Vegas was his escape, but it couldn't fill the void. That's when everything changed. In 1964, a new hairdresser named Larry Geller entered Elvis's life. While cutting his hair, Geller talked about spirituality, and Elvis listened, fascinated. Geller introduced him to books on self-realization, and they spent countless nights discussing God and life's meaning. Elvis's friends noticed a change. Their fun-loving leader was now lost in thought, reading books instead of watching football. Meanwhile, Elvis's career was facing another threat. The money from his shows and movies wasn't as impressive as it once was. Colonel Parker was determined to keep Elvis relevant, but the pressure was building. Elvis's spiritual journey deepened, with visits to spiritual leaders and experiments with meditation and LSD. He even had a profound moment in the desert, seeing Jesus in the clouds. He talked about quitting show business to join a monastery, but Geller reminded him of his responsibilities. Elvis's world was spinning, and Las Vegas was just the backdrop for his inner turmoil. As the years went by, Elvis's relationship with his entourage changed. Geller became a central figure, while others felt left behind. The Colonel, sensing Elvis's restlessness, took drastic measures. After a health scare, he banned Geller from the group and tightened control over Elvis's life. But the most significant change was on the horizon: Elvis's marriage to Priscilla. Despite his reservations, Elvis proposed to Priscilla just before Christmas in 1966, surprising her with a diamond ring. The wedding was a whirlwind affair, held in secret in Las Vegas, with only a handful of people present. It was a rushed affair, leaving some friends hurt and confused. But for Elvis, it marked a new chapter, even as his inner world continued to unravel. In the late 1960s, Las Vegas was facing a big challenge. The city, known for its glamour and gambling, was starting to feel outdated. The music that once drew people in, like the Beatles' rock and roll, was changing the culture around it. This new music and the ideas it brought were hard for Vegas to ignore. Vegas was built for older adults who liked the old ways, but young people were turning away. They were drawn to the new sounds and didn't want anything to do with what Vegas represented. At the same time, inside Vegas, things were changing too. The old way of doing things, with mobsters running the show, was coming to an end. New people with fresh ideas were moving in. One of the most surprising new arrivals was Howard Hughes, a very rich and famous man who owned airlines and made movies. In 1966, Hughes moved to Las Vegas in secret. He needed a quiet place because he was not feeling well, both in mind and body. Hughes was known for doing things his own way. He had a lot of quirks, like not cutting his hair or nails and keeping his room super messy. He had strange habits like storing his urine in jars and obsessing over tiny details like the size of his peas. He didn't leave his room much and talked to people mostly through phone calls and notes. Despite his odd behavior, Hughes was a big deal in the business world. He bought the Desert Inn Hotel after the owner needed money for his vacation spot, the beach, and Hughes offered a lot of cash. At first, the hotel owner didn't want Hughes to stay, but Hughes said he would buy the place if that's what it took. After some talks, they agreed on a price, and Hughes became the new boss of the Desert Inn. This was surprising because Las Vegas saw a guy like Hughes, who was so unusual, as a sign of improvement. At that time, Vegas was getting bad press because of its ties to organized crime. People like the one who owned the Desert Inn before, Moe Dalitz, were getting in trouble with the law. Having Hughes, a respected businessman, come to town was seen as a good thing. The state even waived the usual rules, letting Hughes skip an important meeting just to show how much they wanted him there. After taking over the Desert Inn, Hughes started buying up other hotels and casinos in Las Vegas. He bought the Sands, the Frontier, and even some land that wasn't being used yet. People joked that if he bought the Stardust, they'd start saying not the man but the whole desert is up for sale. However, when Hughes tried to buy the Stardust, the government got worried about him owning too much and stopped him. Even though he couldn't buy more hotels, Hughes still managed to get his hands on other important things in Las Vegas. He bought a TV station to play old movies all day, an airport, and lots of land along the famous Strip. He dreamed of turning the Strip into a massive resort with everything from stores open 24/7 to places for families to have fun, like bowling and ice skating. While this big project didn't happen right away, Hughes was way ahead of his time in seeing the future of Las Vegas as a place for theme parks and endless entertainment. As Hughes kept buying and planning, it became clear he saw Las Vegas as more than just a city of casinos. He wanted to change it into something bigger and more exciting, setting the stage for the Vegas we know today. Howard Hughes came to Las Vegas with a big dream. He wanted to change the city, making it more respectable and trustworthy, like the New York Stock Exchange. This was a big task as the mob had a strong grip on the city's hotels and casinos. Hughes arrived at a good time. City leaders wanted change, and the mob was feeling the pressure. They saw Hughes as a chance to get out before things got worse. Hughes set out to transform Las Vegas. He bought many of the top hotels, aiming to clean up the town. But despite his efforts, some mob members stayed hidden, still pulling strings and taking money. Hughes's vision was to run Vegas more like a business, focusing on profit over the glamour of the past. The Nevada state government helped Hughes by changing rules about who could own casinos. Before, only individuals could own them, and they had to pass a strict vetting process. With these rules gone, big companies could now invest in Vegas. This opened the door for new owners, including Kirk Kerkorian and big hotel chains like Hilton and Holiday Inn. Hughes changed how casinos were run. He brought in new managers, many from his circle of Mormon advisors. They focused on making money, not just on fun and entertainment. Things like expensive showgirl performances and free lunches were seen as wasteful. Hughes cut costs wherever he could. This was a big shift from the old days when Vegas was all about luxury and excess. This new approach upset many in the entertainment world. They felt Hughes was killing the golden age of Vegas. They remembered a time when things were more relaxed and personal. Now everything had to follow strict rules. Some, like Lorraine Hunt Bono, saw it as a loss of the unique Vegas charm. Others, however, like Vera Goulet, believed Hughes raised the standards of class and elegance. Hughes wasn't just about cutting costs. He also faced backlash for his anti-union stance and slow progress on civil rights. He didn't want to hire more African American workers, seeing it as someone else's problem. This made him many enemies in the show business community. Abel Green, a longtime observer, complained that Hughes's corporate style took away the glamour of Vegas. The old mob bosses, while corrupt, were part of the entertainment world. They knew how to make performers feel special. Hughes, with his corporate managers, was seen as cold and impersonal. Stories spread about strange new rules, like needing ID to use a $200 marker in the casino. One example of the clash was with Heidi Gorm, a beloved entertainer. She faced problems with the new casino manager, who demanded ID even though she was a famous performer. This small incident showed how Hughes's new rules affected even the stars. Despite these challenges, Hughes had a friend at the Sands, Jack Trotter. He was a longtime entertainment chief and a friend to many stars, but even he couldn't stop the changes. The conflict between the old Vegas and the new Hughes-style Vegas continued, shaping the city's future. In the end, Hughes's vision changed Las Vegas forever. It moved from a wild, glamorous town to a more regulated and corporate city. While some missed the old days, others saw it as progress. The city would never be the same again, with Hughes's legacy still felt in its hotels and casinos today.